I found similarities between the skills required to report stories and practice law. Both careers involved listening and observing. And after covering protests, desegregation, Congress, the CIA, and the White House, I heard and saw more than my share of the important, the odd, and the bizarre. While these experiences may prove interesting, I hope they will show how newspapers like the New York Times went off their track when confronted with the challenges to objective journalism presented by Donald Trump. I think my different careers have informed one another and allowed me, in this book, to take a critical look at the media landscape as it was when I worked at the New York Times and analyze the nature of it now, how the Times lost its impartiality when confronted with the challenges to objective journalism presented by Donald Trump. In my day, there was a powerful cast of characters in both Washington and New York at the New York Times. The paper was led by a much-hated Abraham Michael Rosenthal, a cerebral and highly political Max Frankel, who bragged about his ability to get Henry Kissinger, the national security advisor, to take his phone calls. Both were from families that had fled Nazi Germany, and the demigod James B. Scotty Reston. They shaped to a very large extent the way the world saw itself. But below them were the working soldiers, the reporters and the editors, who are chronicled in their various adventures and misadventures in this book. Among them was my direct boss, the news editor of the Washington Bureau, Robert H. Phelps, proud of both his purported Native American heritage and the pink dot in the center of his pale stomach. Phelps, diligent to a fault, compulsively used dental picks to tidy up his teeth. But he proved immensely and lamentably less diligent in having reporters follow the story of the century when I presented it to him the day before I left the paper for the first time. The story was Watergate, which this book deals with in part. In particular, its suppression by the Times, until the paper could no longer turn a blind eye because of two upstarts at the Washington Post, one of whom I interviewed to be a reporter for the Times and strongly suggested he not be hired. It was a world then of lies and deception. Think of the Pentagon Papers, the odd story of which is also told in this book. I was assigned to find out who had leaked the papers to my colleague Neil Sheehan at the Times. I won many awards while at the Times, given to me by the paper for what it saw as especially good reporting on especially interesting stories. I also have the distinction of having quit the paper and been rehired by the paper before I left it again. In a sentence, this is a story of when innocence meets reality, and when bias makes its way into the most respected of journalistic temples. That bias continues today. Prologue. The Leak. Journalism, as concerns collecting information, differs little, if at all, from intelligence work. In my judgment, a journalist's job is very interesting. Vladimir Putin, Russian President. Secrecy, being an instrument of conspiracy, ought never to be the system of a regular government. Jeremy Bentham, English philosopher. Washington Bureau, The New York Times, August 1972. The elevator performed its ritual ping at the 8th floor as I ran across the hall and into the newsroom. Good, Bob Phelps was at his desk. Phelps was my editor. He was short, slight, gray-haired, and taciturn. He rolled a miniature wooden dental stake around in his mouth, working away at his teeth during one of his habitual dental stimulator sessions. Shortly after he had eaten lunch, his custom was to part his shirt carefully between the buttons and look with care at a red dot on his small white stomach. He would also take out the trusty wooden pick and diligently stimulate those pesky gums. "Let's go to your office right now," I said. I picked up a reporter's notebook, handed it to him, and told him to bring